Same engine, same platform, same company. In 1970, Chrysler built two of the most collectible muscle cars in American history and pointed them directly at each other. The Plymouth Hemi Cuda and the Dodge Challenger RT Hemi were E-body siblings, built on identical wheelbases, both available with the 426 Hemi, sold by competing Chrysler divisions at competing dealerships. They were meant to cover different market segments. In practice, they went after the same buyer, with the same engine, and created a rivalry inside their own company that enthusiasts are still arguing about 50 years later. Which Chrysler was the real Hemi car? The Cuda is rarer. The Challenger is wider, better proportioned, more composed. The Cuda is lighter, meaner, more raw. Both are built around the most legendary American V8 engine ever produced. Both have become the most valuable muscle cars on the planet. This is the war nobody outside Chrysler was supposed to know was happening. Before the cars, the engine. Because without understanding the 426 Hemi, neither of these cars makes complete sense. Chrysler introduced the 426 Hemi in NASCAR competition in 1964. In its first race, the Daytona 500, Hemi-powered Plymouths finished first, second, third, and fourth. NASCAR promptly banned it for 1965. Chrysler boycotted the series rather than run without their engine. When the 426 Hemi came to street cars in 1966, it was detuned from its race specification. Detuned is a relative term. The street Hemi still ran 10.25-to-1 compression, dual Carter 4-barrel carburetors on a cross-ram aluminum intake manifold, and hemispherical combustion chambers that the engine took its name from. The hemispherical head is the engineering story. In a conventional engine, the valves sit relatively upright, and the combustion chamber is a shallow dish or wedge. The hemispherical chamber is a dome. The valves are angled away from each other in a V shape inside the dome, which allows much larger valve sizes and dramatically better airflow. More air means more fuel means more power. Chrysler rated the street Hemi at 425 horsepower. The actual output was widely understood to be closer to 490 to 500 horsepower on the dyno. This was the most significant underratement in the muscle car era. Chrysler wasn't shaving 10 or 15% off their numbers like most manufacturers. They were reporting approximately 85% of the actual figure. Torque: 490 pound-feet at 4,000 revolutions per minute officially. Actual: closer to 490 to 520 at the crank. The engine required premium fuel, a professional tune to run correctly, and a driver willing to work with it. It did not tolerate neglect. It did not idle smoothly by any definition. It was, categorically, a race engine that happened to have a street certification. Both the Cuda and the Challenger got this engine. Neither deserved it. Both benefited from it enormously. The Cuda name had been used by Plymouth since 1967 as a performance trim on the Barracuda. In 1970, the Barracuda moved to the new E-body platform, and the Cuda became its own distinct model. Not just an option package, but a separate car with its own hood, its own identity, and its own place in Plymouth's performance hierarchy. The 1970 Cuda is shorter than the Challenger. The E-body wheelbase was 108 inches for the Cuda versus 110 inches for the Challenger. Just 2 inches, but it changes the proportions completely. The Cuda looks compact and aggressive. The Challenger looks wide and composed. Same platform, completely different visual character. The Hemi Cuda option required specific components that Plymouth sourced specifically for the application. The K-member, the front subframe, was reinforced for the Hemi's weight and torque. The engine mounts were Hemi-specific. The radiator was larger. The hood had a functional shaker scoop that connected directly to the air cleaner, so when you revved the engine, the hood scoop visibly shook. One of the most viscerally satisfying visual details in muscle car history. The shaker scoop became synonymous with the Hemi Cuda. It's the identifying detail that separates the car visually from everything else on the road in 1970. Performance: 0 to 60 in approximately 5.6 seconds. quarter mile, 13.7 seconds at 104 miles per hour in car and driver testing. Those numbers came with the standard 4-speed manual and the 4.10 rear axle, the combination that produced the best strip results but made highway driving at sustained speed uncomfortable. Plymouth offered the Hemi Cuda in a color palette that became legendary: vitamin C orange, limelight green, violet purple, lemon twist yellow, tor red. These were called high-impact colors, and they were available only in 1970 and 1971. A Hemi Cuda in a high-impact color is the intersection of the rarest engine and the most visually extreme colors the muscle car era produced. How many were built? In 1970, 652 Hemi Cudas with the manual transmission, 214 with the automatic. Total, 866 cars. That number is the entire reason these cars are worth what they are worth today. The Challenger was Dodge's answer to a problem they hadn't had before. For years, Dodge's pony car had been the Dart, a compact platform that couldn't accommodate the biggest engines. The Challenger was designed from the start to fit whatever Dodge wanted to put in it, including the 426 Hemi. At 110 inches of wheelbase, the Challenger is slightly longer than the Cuda. The body is wider. The interior is more spacious. If the Cuda looks like a fist, the Challenger looks like a forearm. Longer, more deliberate, more imposing at rest. The Hemi in the Challenger came with the same mechanical requirements as the Cuda: reinforced K-member, specific engine mounts, upgraded cooling, upgraded driveline. Both cars ran the Dana 60 rear axle with the Hemi option, the strongest production rear end Chrysler offered, because anything lighter would eventually fail under sustained Hemi torque. The Challenger's Hemi hood was not a shaker setup. Instead, it used a flat hood with a functional scoop. Functional in that it actually fed cold air to the engine, but less visually dramatic than the Cuda's shaking scoop. The Challenger looked more composed even in performance trim. Performance, essentially identical to the Hemi Cuda. The 110-inch wheelbase gave the Challenger a slight advantage at the strip. The longer wheelbase planted the rear tires better under hard acceleration. But the weight difference between the two cars was small enough that period testing produced overlapping results. Both cars were in the 13.6 to 13.8 second range at the quarter mile. Dodge offered the Challenger in similar performance colors to Plymouth's high-impact palette, though the specific names differed. Go Mango, Plum Crazy, Sublime. These were the Dodge equivalents, and they've become equally iconic. Production: 356 Hemi Challenger RTs with the manual transmission in 1970, 287 with the automatic. Total Hemi Challengers RT in 1970, 643 cars. Slightly fewer than the Hemi Cuda, but within rounding error of each other. Both cars are extraordinarily rare. At the strip, the gap between these two cars is within the margin of testing variation. Car and driver had the Cuda at 13.7 seconds. Comparable Challenger tests came in at 13.6 to 13.8. Change the rear axle ratio, change the tire compound, change the ambient temperature, and the result flips. The slight wheelbase advantage favors the Challenger on a drag strip. The slightly lower curb weight favors the Cuda. They cancel each other out. Strip result: dead heat. This is genuinely, statistically, a tie. On the street, the character difference is more interesting than the performance difference. The Cuda feels more immediate. The shorter wheelbase means it responds more quickly to steering inputs. The more compact body means you're more aware of the engine. It fills the cockpit with noise and heat and presence in a way the slightly larger Challenger manages slightly better. The shaker scoop trembles on idle. The Cuda is not subtle about what it is. The Challenger feels planted. The longer wheelbase absorbs road irregularities slightly better. The wider body is more comfortable for two occupants. It's still violent. The Hemi doesn't change character based on which car it's in, but the Challenger frames that violence in a slightly more composed package. If you were buying one in 1970 to drive every day, the Challenger was the more livable choice. If you were buying one to take to the strip on weekends and intimidate everyone in the parking lot, the Cuda made a stronger statement. Both had handling limited by the same factor: Chrysler's torsion bar front suspension was competent, but not exceptional, and neither car was fitted with rear anti-roll bars as standard equipment with the Hemi. Under hard cornering, both cars push understeer before eventually rotating. Neither was designed for corners. Both were designed to make corners irrelevant. This section requires its own mention because it explains the collector market entirely. In 1970, Plymouth built 14 Hemi Cuda convertibles, not 140, not 1,400. 14. Dodge built 9 Hemi Challenger convertibles in 1970. These are the rarest muscle car production variants from any American manufacturer, and they are worth accordingly. A Hemi Cuda convertible in a high-impact color with a 4-speed manual and documentation has sold at major auctions for between $3.5 million and $5 million, the record for any American muscle car at public auction. The hardtop cars we've been discussing, 866 Hemi Cudas and 643 Hemi Challengers, are in a different value bracket, but they've consistently appreciated alongside the convertibles. Today, a numbers-matching Hemi Cuda hardtop in a high-impact color trades at $500,000 to $800,000. A Hemi Challenger RT hardtop trades at $450,000 to $750,000. In both cases, color is the largest single variable. A vitamin C Hemi Cuda is worth more than a white one. A plum-crazy Hemi Challenger commands more than a standard color. The high-impact palette is as valuable as the engine. The collector market has spoken on this one. The Cuda is worth more because it's rarer. 866 versus 643 is not a significant difference, but Plymouth was the more popular brand with Hemi buyers. And because the shaker scoop and the shorter, more aggressive body make it the more visually arresting car. When someone says muscle car and you picture a car, you're probably picturing something that looks like a Hemi Cuda, compact, low, aggressive, visually announcing its intent before it makes a sound. The Challenger is the better daily driver. The Cuda is the better icon. In 1970, the Challenger outsold the Hemi Cuda. Dodge moved more units overall. The market voted for the Challenger then. The collector market votes for the Cuda now. Both cars are the right answer to the question, what should Chrysler have done with the 426 Hemi in a pony car? They just answered it differently. At the strip, tie. Both run 13.6 to 13.8. The same engine in nearly identical cars produces nearly identical results. On the street, Challenger is slightly more composed. Cuda is slightly more visceral. As an icon, Cuda wins on visual impact and the shaker scoop alone. As a collector piece, Cuda commands a slight premium. Both have appreciated to the same stratosphere. The real answer is that Chrysler produced 2 versions of the same car because they couldn't decide which one was right. It turns out both were. The sibling war ended in a draw, which was probably the best possible outcome for everyone who bought one in 1970, and definitely the best possible outcome for everyone who bought one now.